Fining English water companies for spilling raw sewage is soon going to become quicker and easier under new plans by the government.
But is this crackdown going far enough? Joining us now is the Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds. Good morning to you. We will come on to talk about that situation shortly, but we would like to talk to you about the grooming gangs inquiry first of all, because there are accusations it's in crisis, and there's a real feeling that these survivors who were let down so badly at the time and not protected are being let down again. What's the message to them this morning?
The message is that the Home Secretary has said very clearly that we are not diluting the focus of the inquiry. We're not expanding the scope of the inquiry. It will consider what's happened with these awful grooming gangs, and the voices of the victims need to be absolutely central to the inquiry, and a reassurance that from the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary and throughout the government, we're absolutely committed to getting to the truth of what happened, unrooting the state failures. And you're right, the state has failed these victims time and time again, failed to listen to them and failed them in so many different ways. And just to reassure them that we're committed as a government to delivering justice for them.
The trouble is, though, you know, we've just been speaking to the police whistleblower Maggie Oliver and also Jade, a survivor, and they have both said to us that they have lost trust in the process that is now broken beyond repair. So doesn't this all need to be rethought now?
Well, we absolutely need to rebuild that confidence and rebuild that trust. But I want to reassure them that, as I said, the Home Secretary stands by the inquiry that we've set out. It will look at some very uncomfortable issues that the state at the time didn't want to deal with. For example, the religious and ethnic background of the offenders and what's happened to these poor victims, and they're at the centre of our thoughts on this. But I understand that they feel let down for many, many years by the state, by the system, and that there has been cover-ups. But as a government...
They feel let down by what? Look, you're not going to criticise a Cabinet colleague, I understand that. But I have to put it to you that what Jess Phillips said in the Commons yesterday was tone-deaf. I mean, you've got these victims, 3 definitely, possibly 4 now, coming out and all saying exactly the same thing after weeks of going to these meetings. They finally left in disgust and they said, we're not being listened to, we're being gaslit, and this is not focusing on the ethnic and religious aspect of the grooming gangs. And she says the word she used was, these allegations are false. So surely she should be saying, we take these allegations and these reports very seriously, and I promise you we will listen to them, and I will meet these women.
So I think the Home Secretary and Jess Phillips do take these allegations very seriously, and as I said,
you don't take something seriously when you describe it as false, you're dismissing it.
But I think what Jess was trying to do is to reassure the victims that as a government and at a ministerial level, we are not trying to dilute the focus of the inquiry. We are not trying to widen its scope, and we are certainly not going to look at, as you said, the religious and ethnic background of the offenders, because these are the failures that happened previously, and we're determined to put those right. I hope, you know, I know that the Home Office and ministers are reaching out to the victims. I thank them for speaking out. They're right to speak out, and we must listen to them and rebuild their trust. What I will say is that the government has already taken action. So the Prime Minister asked every police force in the country to reopen and re-examine cases of grooming, and 1,200 cases have been are being re-examined.
Well, perhaps you should have been the minister to make the statement in the Commons yesterday. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, we hope that the situation could be sorted out with the inquiry. It is vitally important, obviously. Let's turn now to the situation with these fines for water companies who commit environmental offences. So the idea is then that this is a speedier way of being able to fine them. Is this really going to work, though? Because, you know, the accusations are that actually this amount of money just won't have the impact, the deterrent impact that's needed. And the bottom line is that water companies on a daily basis are continuing to pump sewage into our waterways, and it is just not acceptable, is it?
It's not acceptable. And like the public, I am frustrated and angry about this situation, frankly. This should not be happening. We've inherited a whole system failure, a failure of the last government to get a grip of this, a failure of the regulator, a failure of the regulation, and obviously a failure of the water companies. What we are announcing today is further detail on automatic fines. They're like speeding fines. These are preventable offences that are being committed regularly by water companies, and they will get automatic fines for committing these offences. We're also saying in more severe cases that we will bring down the level of proof from criminal proof to civil, which means on the balance of probabilities, and that will make it easier for the Environment Agency to hold these companies to account. And what I would say to you is if we look at the fines that we're consulting on today, this is about the cumulative effect of these fines. If we go on the past performance of water companies in the last few years, this could raise up to about £70 million in penalties. I don't want to raise that money, though. I want to deter the companies from this bad behaviour in the first place. But let me also say that this is one of a big range of measures that we are taking as a government. We've already taken in the Water Special Measures Act, but there's more to come. And this is a big priority for me in my new role. I'm determined to clean up our rivers, lakes and seas. It's an absolute scandal that this has been allowed to happen for so long.
Well, more power to your elbow. I'm sure everybody will agree on that. Look, let's finish with Prince Andrew. Big running story. Parliament being sucked into this as we speak. I know that if I ask you if Parliament should divest him of his dukedom, you'll say it's up to the palace. And I know that if I ask you if you think that he should be kicked out of Royal Lodge in Windsor, you'll say that's up to the palace. So let me put an easier question for you to answer. Quite simply, do you think that Prince Andrew has damaged the monarchy and Britain's reputation abroad?
OK, well, thank you for the question. Look, I have read some of the allegations in the book that was published posthumously this week, and I just want to say that for me, my heart is with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and obviously particularly Virginia Giuffre. The fact that she has taken her own life as well is an absolute tragedy, and it's horrific what's happened to her and the other victims. I think that everybody should cooperate with the police, and if the American authorities ask for cooperation,
do you think Andrew has damaged the monarchy, and do you think he's damaged the reputation of this country abroad, given that at the very least, although of course he denies all the allegations, he's been caught out in a barefaced lie about cutting off communications with Jeffrey Epstein? We know now that he did, had detailed conversations, conspired with him to smear the reputation of Virginia Giuffre. Do you think that's damaged the monarchy? That's the question.
I think it's a very difficult time for the monarchy, but I have the utmost respect for the King and Prince William and the rest of the royal family. I met with them recently to discuss nature and agriculture and the international conference that's happening, the COP that's happening in Brazil in November. Look, it's obviously a very sensitive and difficult situation for the royal family, but we stand by the judgment of the King in asking Prince Andrew and agreeing with Prince Andrew that he relinquishes his honours.
Well, that's what's called playing a blocking bat. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Emma Reynolds, the Environment Secretary, thank you.